Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. It's Wednesday, March 19th, and we are here. We are 24 hours away from basketball being played in the tournament. The first four started yesterday. North Carolina routed San Diego State, and then Alabama State beat
Getting us off right.
St. Francis on already just an incredible. So there's like 4 seconds left, and they just chuck it deep. We're like,
I was about to say
sure.
the inbound plays like there's.
I was like, there's enough time. I feel like you can do something else. Nope, we're going all the way. I love it, and it works out. Shout out to Alabama State for getting that win for the SWAC. Now, we're going to do this. For those who haven't already, check out our last podcast where we talk about every single Texas team, their road to the Final Four, their path, their realistic path, if they're a lower seed, how far they can get, and so on and so forth. Here we'll be talking about our brackets, our official submissions, and what we think is going to happen. We will focus on the Texas teams here, but we will go through our brackets and give our picks to who we think can win this thing.
Let's do it.
So we'll start on the men's side because, again, last podcast we talked about it. We have a lot more men's teams than women's teams this year. I don't know, a lot more, like 3 more, 2 more.
I'd say a lot more that we kind of expect. I don't know. We do have like a couple more. I was going to say a lot more that we expect to make further runs, but I can't even say that. So
off the top of my head, we have 6 men, 4 women, somewhere around there. Regardless,
yeah.
So we'll do the men's bracket first. We're gonna start in the South, which is the top left region for those looking at it on their sheet of paper on their computer. It's Auburn's region. We'll run through kind of everything we have here. And go game by game, and then we'll focus on Texas A&M as the 4 seed here. So we'll talk about their path and how far we think they go. You stop me I'll read through my picks here for the first round, and then you tell me which ones you have different. I have Auburn, Creighton over Louisville, Michigan over UC San Diego, A&M over Yale, Ole Miss, Iowa State, New Mexico, Michigan State.
I have the Creighton pick. I like the Creighton pick. I have them over Louisville as well. I believe, I can't remember who it was. Somebody has Creighton. Somebody prominent has Creighton in their Final Four. I don't have that far, but that'd be interesting. My differences are I have UC San Diego over Michigan. That seems to be, we'll get to another 12-5. That's kind of been the sexy pick for a lot of people, but this one seems to be a lot of people's as well.
Yes.
They're 37th in KenPom, UC San Diego. Tritons are on a 15-game win streak, which is the longest in the country. I believe this is also their first tournament appearance. Excuse me. The difference for me is going to be how they game plan for Vlad Goldin. Of course, if you remember him from FAU, he was a very, very prominent part of Dusty May's offense. But I love what this UC San Diego team does. They turn people over. Michigan's also a team that turns the ball over quite a bit, and I think that can kind of play into UC San Diego's hands. I think there is a chance that they also have the best player on the court in Aniwaniwa Tate Jones, 6'6" guard, who's probably going to be getting some NBA looks. So they're the one upset that I have early on. That was one that I looked over because I like Dusty May. I think Michigan's turned it around really, really well. Yeah. But I do have that as one of my 12-5s.
Yeah, a lot of people, like you said, have started to make that pick. UC San Diego is very, very good. Just awesome team here. So that's one I wrestled with for a long, long time. I ended up going Michigan. Like you said, I think my hope and something that I think sticks with me year over year is like sometimes you watch these games and it's like sometimes the size doesn't matter, and then sometimes the size does matter with these bigger teams, right? Like the P4 teams or high major teams, however you want to say it. Like sometimes the size is just too much to overcome. My thinking is like Danny Wolf and Golden should, like, that's 2 7-footers here against like in the Big Ten it can struggle at times. Here against UC San Diego, I'm hoping that they can pull it out, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if San Diego won. Do you have A&M winning?
Yes, I have A&M over Yale. Look, I do think that A&M's lack of shooting will hurt them. I don't think it'll be this early. I think that if they were playing a team that took more threes, I'd be more interested. But Yale, they shoot the three well, but they don't take a lot. I think A&M's defense is good enough to get them through this game. It's going to be a good game. I think this is a good matchup clash regardless. So, yeah, I don't think they catch them in this round. Um, we can kind of switch roles. I'll go second round here for the South.
Are you the
I
same
have all
on Are you the same on Ole Miss, Iowa State, New Mexico, Michigan?
yes, yes. So
Okay,
yes, 100%. Yeah. Oh, actually, I have Marquette. I do have Marquette.
okay. That is one
Um,
I debated for a long time as well.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Pitino's done a really, really good job there. I believe he, after losing JT Toppin, he went and had another player just win Mountain West Player of the
Yes.
Year. He might be in line for the Villanova job as well. So like he's been an incredible job there. I just think that Marquette is able to get one. That's not one that would shock me. But I do think Marquette pulls it out, and then I have Michigan State. Um, in the second round, I have Auburn, A&M, Ole Miss, and Michigan State. Um, it, I was going back and forth on Ole Miss and Iowa State, but I believe Keyshawn Gilbert is out for Iowa
Mhm.
State. That's a big one. I like what Chris Beard's kind of establishing there. Again, he's not the final form of what he hopes his team to be, but I think that we've seen Iowa State kind of go up and down, especially with injuries. I have them. As a 6 coming out going to the Sweet 16. Michigan State. I think they've ended the year really well, despite what happened in the Big Ten championship. A&M again, similar to. Uh, I like UC San Diego, but I think that A&M is going to. They need a team that's to me a little bit more efficient on offense to oust them out of this tournament, and I don't think that UC San Diego is going to be able to handle the pressure that they play on defense. Um, and they don't turn. I mean, A&M's not they're not the cleanest team on offense either, so they can turn the ball over quite a bit. But I think that sloppy game is going to play into their hands regardless. So, and then I have Auburn. This is a game where you mentioned size. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner could make things very difficult, but I think that
Yes.
Auburn, outside of, I'll get this more because spoilers, I have Auburn going quite pretty far. They were the best team in the country for like 90% of the season. And I don't think a slip up in what did they lost 3 of the last 4.
Yeah.
It was after they won the SEC already. I don't take that much into that losing streak.
Yeah. I also have Auburn, and then I took Michigan over A&M. I
Okay.
I
Okay.
ended I
Wow.
ended there. I think the front court advantage that Michigan has with those 2 that I mentioned,
Yeah.
I think in March that matters. Now, again, there are a lot of flaws with Michigan. You can find flaws with
Mhm.
a lot of teams, but the three-point shooting is not great. They turn the ball over a ton. Like, we can talk about that. I just think defensively they have hit their stride now, winning the Big Ten conference championship, and I think A&M could, like, just have one of those games where they just don't score the ball, and then if they're
Mhm.
not able to get their offensive rebounds, it's gonna be interesting. So, I took Michigan, over A&M. I have I have Ole Miss as well advancing,
Mhm.
and then I have New Mexico, and then I have New Mexico-ish.
Oh, Rich Pitino
Donovan Dent
squad over here.
Donovan Dent and the boys
Yeah.
are making a run. They're making a run here.
Okay.
Michigan State, I actually love this Michigan State team.
Yeah. They're
Like, just
kind of
watch
to me, they're kind of the good version of A&M. And like they can't shoot, but they play really good defense. Um,
and they have some
yeah.
fun guards, right, with Holloman and,
Yeah.
Fears and, Richardson, and so it's just like I love watching them play.
Yeah, they're
I
they're
don't
they're a really
trust
good
them.
team. I saw most of their last couple games of the Big Ten, blowing out Michigan and then just falling short to a hot shooting or a hot Wisconsin team at the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like them a lot.
No problem at all if anyone takes Michigan State here. I'm gonna stick with New Mexico. I think New Mexico has the experience and the team here to give people problems.
Okay.
And then I got Auburn in the Elite Eight, and I have New Mexico in the Elite Eight, and then I have Auburn winning
Man.
that. So
Okay. Okay. I have Auburn coming out of this region as well. I have Auburn over A&M, and I have Michigan State over Ole Miss. 1-2, pretty chalky for me. Again, and you cover them a lot more in the SEC. I just think that Auburn, we've seen this team slam so many teams this year, right? Like just straight up put like outside of even Houston, like Houston wasn't, it was the second game of the season. They didn't lose by a lot, but it was like you just saw them kind of get played in a way that you haven't seen Houston get played before early in the year. But regardless, even the Duke team, which I think when healthy, Duke's probably the best team in the country. But even then, Auburn was right there with them for a lot of that. Every other game they've played, they like shellacked these teams, right? Ohio State, pretty good team, destroyed. And then when they got into SEC play and they had to play these teams week after week, obviously the grind kind of gets down on them. But I don't know. I just feel like we're going to get back to that Auburn team that we saw for basically up until February, where they're just the best team in the country for a long stretch of the season. So,
yeah. This is. It's funny way to start with this because I do go I don't go chalky for the rest of it, but that's definitely New Mexico's my.
I'll say this. I think one of my friends, Will Warren, who does a good job with Stats by Will on Twitter, he put out his by the numbers article when the seeding happened, and he said a lot of it is like this may be one of the like at least the numbers look like this is going to be a chalky. Potentially a very chalky tournament. And he said, let me see, this is the first year since 2019 and just the second in history that all number one seeds have had a 35% chance or higher of making the Final Four. So it's like, it just might be one of those years. We'll see. I think only 1 year or 2 years where it's actually happened.
San Antonio in 2009.
That's right. The last time it was in San Antonio. And then I think Norlander said there's only been 1 year since only one season that they've made it to the Elite Eight. So, we'll see exactly how this plays out. But yeah, so far it is looking like a pretty chalky bracket.
Yes. Okay. Now that we got our feet under us, we can kind of speed through this a little bit more here.
Yep.
Let's go to the West, bottom left. This is Florida's region. We do have Texas Tech as a 3 seed we'll talk about. I have Florida, UConn, Colorado State, Maryland, Drake, Texas Tech, Arkansas, and St. John's coming out the first round.
Okay. We both have Colorado State over Memphis. Tyrese Hunter, I believe the actual quote from Penny Hardaway was it's whatchamacallit. I think he said it's wishful thinking if he comes back this season. He finished the AAC tournament on crutches. He did not play in the final. So I think that opens the door for Colorado State. I think Colorado State's actually a favorite in this game too. I believe this is one of the first times that we've seen a 12-5 favorite with the 12. So yeah, I got Colorado State as well. I actually have Missouri. I know Drake's another one of the sexy upset picks. I don't have Missouri going far, but I do have Missouri in this one. And then I have Kansas over Arkansas State. And I believe only the second time Bill Self and Calipari have played each other.
Is the other one that championship game in 2009 that we just referenced with Mario Chalmers against Derrick Rose?
I think that might have been, I think that might have been it. Yeah, that was the only time.
That's just one of the first thing that came to mind. And then I have Florida, Maryland, Texas Tech, and St. John's. So 1-4-3-2 right here for me. It's kind of, again, chalky right there.
Same exact one. Yeah, I have all those. I believe, by the way, I think St. John's and Kansas will be the second time that Rick Pitino and Bill Self, I think Kansas played Iona 1 year when Pitino was down there. But yeah, another classic coaching matchup.
Now, who do you have in the Elite Eight out of this West region?
Okay. I have Florida and St. John's.
I have the opposite.
Really? You have Maryland and
yes, Maryland and Texas Tech. Go ahead.
This is going to spoil my other side of my bracket. I can't have two teams that have the caveat of if they're healthy. Right?
Fair.
And that's my thing with Texas Tech is if they're healthy, absolutely, I have this team in the Final Four. I can't bet, and again, that'll spoil the next region that we have. I can't have two teams in my bracket in the Final Four where I'm looking at and going, "Ooh, if they're healthy, I like them," but I can't. I can't. I don't know. I think the St. John's team is really awesome. I really do enjoy. I saw the whole Big East tournament. I think they're playing incredible defense at the number one defense in the country. They look like a Rick Pitino team. They've only lost. All four of their losses by combined 7 points to Baylor, Georgia, Creighton, Villanova. I think there's just something about that team that makes me love them more than this Tech team, just because I don't know the status of Darian Williams and Chancellor Millen.
This was by far the hardest region to do.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Fundament. The West is just wide open, which Florida's the number 1 seed, so it makes sense.
Right.
I also like St. John's. The shooting always scares me with them, but
Yeah,
I
100%.
understand everything else going on. Texas Tech, the injuries scare you because very well they could be reaching the second weekend and not have McMillan or Williams or something happens, like, or they're
Mhm.
just not healthy. I just think at its core, Texas Tech has been through enough defensive battles here that I think that they're going to be able to outshoot St. John's enough to get this win. Now, Maryland, I I love Maryland's front court, and I think that can
Mhm.
equalize the game with Florida's front court, which is obviously really good with Chinny Lou and Condon. Reese and Derek Queen have been so good for Maryland. And then it just kind of, once you neutralize the size, which Florida kind of just takes advantage of in a lot of games, there's a lot of pressure on Clayton and these guards to produce, which they could. But I
Yeah.
just think Maryland has one of the best starting fives in the country, and I'm going to roll with Maryland in this one. So Maryland, Texas Tech for me, Florida, St. John's for you. Do you have Florida Final Four?
I have St. John's. I
Ooh,
went with St. John's.
now that
Yeah.
I like that.
I so Florida, of course, I think you could say Florida ended the year as probably the best team in the country. Their run
Mhm.
that they've been on has been incredible. They're probably the surprise of the year, if not them or Texas Tech, probably with what Todd Golden has done there. Um, Best offense in the country right now, according to Ken Palm. One of the best defenses. That's typically a recipe of a team that can just make a run. I'm still giving the edge to Rick Pitino because Todd Golden has not. I don't think he's coached in a tournament yet, has he?
No, he did.
Like,
They lost to, they were the 7-10. They lost to,
okay, so last year.
Murray State 2 years ago,
That's
or
right. So, I'm gonna go with experience in this one. I think I like a lot of. By the way, do you know the Texas connection on St. John's?
Aaron Scott?
Well, that too. The
Besides Aaron
two,
Scott? I figured there's a
Zuby
bit more.
Ejiofor. Zuby
Okay.
Ejiofor went to Kansas, but he's from Garland. And then he realized that KJ Adams is going to play for 10 years. So he's like, I'm going to go to St. John's. So anyway, but yeah, so I don't know. I saw the whole Big East tournament, so that may be, biased. I was sick during that tournament, so I'm just going to watch some Big East basketball. And yeah, I'm on the juice, right? I'm right there with Spike Lee in the
Yeah, there
signed
you
St.
go.
John's jacket that I just
Yeah,
bought. So
yeah,
yeah,
y'all are gonna
give me the
see
Johnny.
Ish courtside next to St. John, next to, Spike
Exactly. I've
Lee.
been here the whole time.
There you go. Um, I could flip this. I'm just
Yeah.
debating this. This is
This
the
one
hardest.
I've had legitimately three different teams in here before I'm finally putting down St.
I
John's.
initially had Florida coming out of this region,
Mhm.
and then yeah, and then I was like, "No, I like
It's
Maryland too
crazy.
much," and I think
It's
sometimes
so stacked.
I get swept up in, like, Florida making that run in the conference tournament. I'm like, I don't wanna
Yeah.
try to be prisoner of the moment because I have seen them lose games, like, I have seen them struggle at times.
Yep.
Um, so Texas Tech, Maryland, this could flip. I'm gonna stick with Texas Tech because at this point, I'm assuming that they're 100%.
Mhm.
And that,
Sure. Yeah.
like, it's fair to say I don't wanna assume that, but at this point, I am assuming that. If I am assuming that, I think JT Toppin versus Derek Queen and Julian Reese is, I think Toppin will be fine there. They're not the biggest. They're both like 6'9", 6'10", so it's not like they're 7-footers.
Mhm.
And if Texas Tech beats St. John's, then I think that they are going to beat Maryland. Um,
Yeah.
if it's Florida, then I don't know. But so give me Texas Tech in the Final Four here. I have Auburn, Texas Tech. You have Auburn, St. John's so far in the Final
Yep.
Four. In the East,
Alrighty.
go ahead.
Let's go to the East now.
You read through yours.
All right. I mean, look, I'll just say this. I think this one's the most chalky region for me. I'll just say it right now. I have Duke in my Final Four. I think Duke has the easiest path to the Final Four. Um, I have Duke over, so obviously Duke over the 16, Baylor over Mississippi State. I have Oregon over Liberty, Arizona over Akron, BYU over VCU. That was one that I struggled with.
Yep.
Wisconsin over Montana, St. Mary's over Vanderbilt, and Alabama over Robert Morris.
I also have Baylor. the Liberty Oregon game was even up to this morning. I was looking at it,
Mm,
and Oregon has not been good enough for me. I
mhm.
don't like pick. I have 3 12s over fives. I'm like, it's not going to be 3 12s over five. I don't.
Right,
And the
that
one
was
I
my thing
didn't
too.
pick is probably the most popular one with UC San Diego. Or
Right.
yeah,
Or,
um,
yeah, yeah, UC San Diego, Michigan over UC San Diego.
yeah, UC San Diego. Thank you. That's the only one I didn't pick, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
this is I don't. It's not a good feeling. Oregon in conference play 10th in offense, 9th in defense. And they've won
Mhm.
games. Don't get me wrong. Like they've won a lot of games. They beat
Yeah.
Wisconsin in overtime on the road. They beat like Washington in overtime on the road. Uh, they haven't done enough for me.
Yeah.
And Liberty might not be able to get them, but they shoot the heck out the ball. And if Liberty can get going, I'm going to stick with them. So
And
Liberty,
they play, I mean, they play good enough defense too, to where like they're not going to get torched. Oregon, I think, is a worse defense than Liberty, according to Ken Palm. So the recipe's there.
the recipe's there. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We're going to bet on a couple of
Yeah.
these 12s. I actually have VCU over BYU, Wisconsin, St. Mary's, Alabama. I have Duke, Arizona. Moving on from those. Sorry, Baylor. We talked about it in the last pod. Y'all can
Yeah.
go listen to it because we actually did
Yeah.
lay out like for Baylor to have a chance, Cooper Flag can't play. Like
Right.
that's
Yes. That'd be
that's
the one.
that's it. So Duke, Arizona, VCU beating Wisconsin, advancing there,
Mm.
and then Alabama advancing there to my elite or Sweet 16.
Okay. Nice. So you have the VCU one. I'm still just
1 4 3
eventually
2.
BYU to hit one of these teams. Oh, it has
Oh,
to hit one of these. No. I'm saying sorry. BYU over VCU is what I'm talking about.
okay, okay, yeah.
Um, so I have Duke over Baylor, I have Arizona, and then I have Wisconsin over BYU, and I have St. Mary's over Alabama.
Oh,
Um, so Grant Nelson's out. Like that's
yes.
a big thing for me. St. Mary's won the West Coast Conference over Gonzaga, and I think that Alabama's a really good team. They play with a tempo that's hard to keep up with. With your second best player potentially being out, that's a massive thing for me. It's going to catch them. I'm betting it catches them in the second round. I would not be surprised if they have enough to beat St. Mary's, but I'm going to go with the team that beat Gonzaga to win the West Coast Conference. But yeah, and then with BYU, like BYU or VCU, again, I'm just going to shoot myself in the foot again, but eventually this team's going to have a good shooting performance in the tournament. And I think that they do well enough from two. Like last year, it was just like if they don't hit three, they're done. Right.
Yeah.
I think this year they've done better when the three ball isn't falling. They're one of the top teams when it comes to 2 point percent shots. I know next year is going to be their year because they get the number one prospect in AJ DeBensta
Bunsta.
coming in. So the next year will be their year to like really prove things. But I do think Kevin Young's done a good job this year to get them through to this round. So I have them losing the second round, but I do have them finally kind of showing up and
Yeah.
having a good tournament performance.
So I have Duke over Arizona and I have Alabama over VCU. I was gonna just go VCU, but I already have New Mexico on the other side, so I'm like,
Can't go
I, I
too sexy here.
yeah, I can't go crazy here. I this VCU team is awesome, first of
Yeah,
all, and I think like sure they definitely could lose BYU, and they definitely could lose to Wisconsin.
I believe Ryan
Wisconsin,
Odom's also in line for the Virginia job
yeah,
potentially.
Virginia job. Wisconsin's also very, very good. So
Yeah.
like in theory, if somebody had them in their Elite Eight, I wouldn't be mad at that. But I do have Duke, Alabama here, and I have Duke advancing. I agree with you. I think this is the easiest path for a number one
Yeah,
seed.
I have Duke, Wisconsin, Duke advancing, and yeah, I even with even without Cooper Flag at 100%. Sorry, Baylor. I think they don't need him until the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
Like genuinely. Um, yeah, I think they'll need him to beat Arizona but I think that they can beat both obviously the first round team, and I think Baylor. Again, for them to have a chance, Cooper Flag has to be out. But even then, I haven't seen enough from Baylor to pick them over.
honestly,
Yeah.
even if Cooper Flag was not playing this entire region, I might still
It's
pick
not. Yeah, I was about to say they got the easiest region. They
like
got by far the easiest region.
Alabama without Grant Nelson.
Yeah.
Arizona's your 4 seed. Ah, very yeah,
People forget that this team still probably has like outside of Cooper Flag, two other first round picks, right?
yeah. Malawach and Knipple.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good team. Okay, the Midwest region. You can read yours off while I
All
change
right.
the text.
Where are we at? Okay. I got Houston, Gonzaga, Clemson, Purdue, Illinois, Kentucky, UCLA, Tennessee. So the ones that I fought with here was Gonzaga over Georgia. That's a massive one.
Mhm.
Clemson over McNeese. There's some people that love McNeese. Again, they were kind of the sexy pick last year. They obviously ran through the Southland again. And then Purdue over High Point. High Point's getting some love from people because they do play a brand that Purdue has notoriously struggled with.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping Purdue though over this one. But yeah, those are mine. I'm going pretty chalky to start this one, but it gets interesting later.
I, I just made a change here.
Oh
Live,
Lord.
live change, live
Oh
change.
Lord.
Um, I this did not change. Houston, Gonzaga, McNeese, High Point.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't
Okay.
care. I'm
Okay.
one of those um guys trying to be trendy, I guess. I don't care.
Yeah.
You go look at
Okay.
Purdue and you go look at High Point's Kim Palms, and you
Oh
tell
yeah, no,
me,
100%. Like Purdue's defense is not ready for High Point.
bro, Purdue is it's gonna have to be like 95 to 90. Purdue. And it could
That's
be.
fair.
Like
That's fair.
they're very, very good. They're clearly better
Yeah.
than High Point. But
Yeah.
like in terms of an upset, you're not reaching in terms of like there's gonna be most likely, I think I saw a tweet, it was like 47% chance, or maybe more than that, that like there's gonna be a 13 over a 4.
Yeah.
So if I'm
This
picking
ain't this
one,
ain't your dad. This ain't your dad's Purdue where they're bigger than everybody, right? Like
someone
this ain't.
I saw a tweet that said, "Man, Purdue really misses Mason Gillis and this other dude who sat the bench last year." And I'm like, "Yeah, they also missed that 7'4" dude who won
I was about
Player of
to
the
say
Year
the
back to
7'4"
back years.
guy who played like 5 years.
Like they also miss Yao Ming in the middle of the court. I don't
And
know.
they also,
That might be
by
it.
the way, they started I believe Raleigh Burgess, who was supposed to be the heir apparent or no, Will Berg, sorry, Will Berg was supposed to be the heir apparent to Zach Edey, 7'2". He's missed most of the year. So like they thought they would just have that guy
Yeah.
again, and they haven't.
Yeah. So I went with both the trendy picks here. I do
Yeah.
think McNeese is better suited this year than last year because last year playing Gonzaga, that's a I make Will Wade talked about it like on I think it was Andy Katz's show. Like that was
Mhm.
the worst case scenario for them because they want to speed teams up a little bit, force some turnovers.
Yes.
I go back to and I forgot about this, but I watched McNeese only lose to Alabama by like 8. And I understand it was
Interesting.
like the 3rd game of the season, but
Mhm.
I saw that, and I saw them, like, beat North Texas at home, and I'm sure they've lost to like, they lost to Mississippi State by 3. Like, this is a team that
Yeah.
has continuously been really close, and I think this is the year. I think they can do it. I also don't like this Clemson team as much as last year's team, where they had a couple guys that I thought were game changers. So,
That's fair.
give me the 12,
Yeah.
13, and then the one I just changed I had Texas going on. I had Texas
I
as
see. That's my thing. I can't. If it's Texas, I think I like them over Illinois. But if it's Xavier, I don't. And if I have any mismatch, I gotta go with the 6. I gotta go with the 6.
I think Texas could lose tonight, the more I'm looking into
I think
it,
they could. I
and
think they
it's
could too.
scaring me. Like, I
Yeah.
thought Texas I was like, "Oh, okay, Texas Xavier, I think Texas can win that." And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know." So, at this moment, I'm gonna have Illinois advancing, I'm gonna have Kentucky
Okay.
advancing, and I have Utah State, advancing over UCLA. So I have a 2-10 there with Tennessee.
Okay.
Advancing from that, I have Houston, McNeese over High Point, um, Kentucky over Illinois, and Tennessee advancing over Utah State as my Sweet 16. Who do you have?
Hmm.
You have Gonzaga, don't you? I hate you.
I have Gonzaga.
I hate you. I hate you. No, no, not here.
I have
No, we
Gonzaga.
can't do
I mean,
this.
look, this is an awful draw for Houston. Gonzaga's a top 10 team in Ken Palm. They're for some reason an 8 seed. Um, This is a team that's lost to Kentucky by 1 in overtime, lost in overtime to Virginia, lost by 6 to UConn. This is a good team. This is a really good team. They just St. Mary's just had their number this year, basically. Um, yeah, I don't know. I
Unbelievable.
I know. This hell of a hate mail come my way. Look,
Unbelievable.
love to kick the tempo up, right? Of course, Houston loves to ramp things down and make you play their game. Their offense is a lot better than it has been in the past, despite their defense maybe being a fraction worse. Their offense has been better. Their shooting has been better. Houston, I'm talking. Um, I think that Gonzaga's ready for that type of game now. You look at their tempo, you look at the way they shoot the ball from two. I think they're going to find a way to get this done. Houston, the problem with me for Houston is, and again, maybe this is just me, and we always have this with Texas teams because we cover them obviously way more than everybody else.
Mhm.
I look at what Houston did outside of Big 12 play. And again, Auburn, I know, best team in the country. Alabama, not a bad loss. San Diego State, not a bad loss. But I just look at this Houston team as more mortal outside of the Big 12. And so I feel like once they get a team that plays a little bit differently than they're used to seeing in the Big 12 and Gonzaga, we'll see. We'll see. That's my thing. So,
No.
yeah.
Nope, I can't.
I,
No, not rolling here. No.
I have Gonzaga, I have Clemson, I have Illinois, and I have Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Houston.
Tennessee scares me, but I have Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I almost picked Utah State over them for a second, so I'm right there with you. I do think Houston gets through enough. I think I feel better about this Houston team than I have on any previous Houston iteration. And maybe I am falling for the bait again. Maybe one of their best players gets hurt again in the second round.
I mean, look, we talk about injuries. Juwan Roberts has been held out, right? He did not play in the Big 12 title. They didn't need him.
You
But
will have to cut Juwan Roberts' leg off for him not
I'm
to
not
be on
saying
the
he's not
court
playing, right?
and
No, he
not
is
be a
absolutely
monster in this game.
right.
I'm done. Houston, spoiler, Houston's in my Final Four. Houston's going. Houston, this is the year where they don't get a freak injury, where things break right for them. Watch, maybe Georgia beats Gonzaga or something like that. I don't care. Even if they do, they beat Gonzaga.
Maybe. I mean, that's certainly possible. So.
I have them playing McNeese in the damn Sweet 16. Give us a break. Houston beats them by 60, and then they play Rick Barnes in the Elite Eight and mop them up. Or they play Kentucky, who would kill.
Yeah, no, give me Houston in that matchup. Okay, no, give me Houston in that matchup. Absolutely. I have Illinois over Kentucky. I don't
through Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else here that scares me.
I'll say this. Gonzaga is the team that scares me most in this region for Houston.
Give me Houston in the Final Four.
And because it's just so early, too, to get that type of game. So
it is.
Yeah. I have Gonzaga in my Final Four as well.
Okay.
So I have Gonzaga over Clemson. And I mentioned I have Tennessee over Illinois just because I think Illinois, I'm not a fan of this Kentucky team at all. And I have Gonzaga over Tennessee. It's mostly because I can't see. I'm sorry, Rick Barnes, Tennessee, March, all this stuff. No, I do again, but also I do like this Gonzaga team. I think this Gonzaga team plays with the tempo that's hard to keep up with outside of your Alabamas or whatever. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They find a way to shoot well from the inside. So yeah, I just like this Gonzaga team a lot. I think this bracket breaks right for them. It would not shock me. Also, this is one of the other regions where they could lose in the first round. Georgia could beat them. Like Georgia could just straight up beat Gonzaga, and I'd be like, okay, well, there goes that. So,
all right, our Final Four is I have Auburn versus Texas Tech and Duke versus Houston.
I have Auburn, St. John's, and Duke and Gonzaga.
I have Auburn over Texas Tech. I don't like that matchup because of Janai Broome. And the 3-point shooting of Auburn is just it's a really good team. It's a really, really good team. And they kind of come at you in waves. And Texas Tech, as much as I kind of like their depth at times, like we've talked about it, they've been able to like come off the bench with like a Anderson and a Kerwin Walton or Federico. Auburn's on a different level. And if Auburn reaches this point, then they will have obviously quelled any concerns of like, oh, are they okay? Yeah, they just ran through the region and they are going to be rolling here. So I think Auburn beats Texas Tech. And then I have Duke over Houston on the other side of my Final Four. That's just that they just have too much talent. It's kind of like when Duke played Texas. It was Texas Tech, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago with Paolo Banchero and them. And you're like watching and you're like, Texas Tech, come on, like you should win this game. Like it was like right there, but then Duke just had too much talent. You're like,
Yeah.
damn, we couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think
That's how I
it was
think
2022, yeah.
2022. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
like the year I was like, oh my gosh, beat this team, and they didn't. So I
Yeah.
kind of see it going the same way. Duke's talent just kind of wins out there with
Yeah.
Malawach and Knipple and Flag.
I got the same. I got Auburn over St. John's. I think that when we talk about St. John's shooting not being great, right? And you mentioned then you talk about guys like Pettiford and
Denver
um,
Jones, Miles
Broome,
Kelly.
and so it's like okay, like there's just too many weapons. They play very aggressively. They play with a good tempo, not a high tempo, but a good tempo. And on the other side, Duke as well. Yeah, like I think again, I'm not Cooper Flag healthy or not. I think they're just a better team than Gonzaga. And I have Duke winning it all. I have Duke over Auburn. I think these have been the two best teams in the country all year. Injuries or not, whatever. If both teams are healthy, if everything's perfect, I think these are the two best teams in the country. And I think Duke just has the guy to kind of elevate them over probably the best top to bottom team in the country in Auburn. But I think they Duke has the guy to make a difference in Flag.
Yeah, I think this is I think Konka Nipple for Duke. I don't know how many people
Mhm.
know him. Like he's projected as a lottery pick, so some
Yeah.
people know him, but like he's been very under. He's kind of been in that Reed Shepherd role, but he's obviously not coming off the bench. But
Right,
um,
right.
you know, he has been kind of underrated in that sense, and I could see him kind of hitting his stride here, especially with Flag maybe limited early. He just kind of
And it's
has
also
developed.
like it's also hard. I mean, he's a huge guard. He's like a 6'6" guard.
Yes,
Like that's
I
that's so
mean,
hard to
dude,
game plan for.
they roll out him, they roll out Flag, they roll out Malawach, who's 7'2", like Sion
I mean, like
James,
Caleb Foster might be and Tyrese Proctor, like the shortest players, like 6'5".
like literally, dude, they just roll
Yeah.
out these huge NBA players here,
Yeah.
and like Sion James is an elite defender. Mason Gillis, has been around forever. He's a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the best team. Or I don't want to say that's the best team. I don't want to discredit Auburn, but if I'm picking a game
Yeah. Yeah.
them to play a game, I'm taking Duke. So I agree with you. I also have Duke Auburn. So the rest of our brackets are very, very different.
Yeah. But
And I
we
love
end up in the same spot.
that. I love that. Yeah, do we do all this work and it's like Duke Auburn. Duke Auburn. All right. There's the men's side. Let's go to the women's. Let me save my bracket since I just picked Illinois to win. I gotta make that change. All right.
A little bit more chalky probably on this side, but there's some shakeup
This
here
is
and there.
the least chalky women's bracket I've ever had.
Really?
Ever
Okay.
had. And I have reasons for all of it. I think I
Okay.
can justify everything that I pick here. It's not
Okay.
crazy. It's not like I have a freaking 11 seed making the Elite 8, but
Right.
I
Right. I
I
mean,
got
it's for
some
the women's side. It'd be chalky
that
probably.
would
So,
yes. Yes. I
all
I
right.
I
What do we
still think
got?
it's crazy that the women had a 16 over a 1 in, like, 1998, and I really
Yeah,
wanna
that's a
go
good
back and be
point.
like, how
How
is
did
that
this
even
game happen?
possible, like, on the women's side? Because there's like, I think you look at the spreads for the ones versus 16s this year, it's like
Yeah.
45 points. It's like
Mm.
and imagine one of them losing. Like, that would be the biggest upset in the history of sports,
Yeah, seriously.
if that happened. Okay, enough talking.
What do we got?
Region 1. It's UCLA's region. It's Spokane 1, I think technically.
Mhm.
We have UCLA as the 1 seed here, and we do have Baylor's the 4 seed. We talked about them a lot in the last podcast. And
Mhm.
so let's read through the picks real quick. I have
Okay. I
UCLA.
got
Go ahead.
okay, yeah,
You
okay.
you go first.
UCLA over whoever at the 16. I have Georgia Tech over Richmond, Ole Miss over Ball State. I have Baylor over Grand Canyon. There's some talk there. Molly Miller's done a really good job there. I think I think that matchup still goes in Baylor's favor. Florida State over George Mason, LSU over San Diego State, Michigan State over Harvard, and NC State over Vermont.
I can't believe you didn't pick Harvard with me. I can't believe you didn't pick Harvard with me. Harvard's got one of the best guards that's
I was
not
about to
in the
say she.
Heisman
Yeah, I
group.
know she's been cooking. I've seen a lot of on
Um,
social media about her.
just from a
I forgot
fun
her name.
perspective. Now they
Yeah.
came in 3rd in their conference. Like they're not even like They weren't even the best team in
Right.
the conference, but Harmony Turner, I'll
Yeah.
ride. Let's go. Also, I typically fade the Big Ten in women's basketball ever since
That's also not a bad idea.
2 years ago, I got caught back when, like, Indiana was a 1 seed and, like, it
Yeah.
was all these Big Ten teams, and I got caught. I got caught up in the Big Ten. Never again, never again. Anyways, I have everything the same as you, except I have Harvard over Michigan State. Then I have UCLA, and then I have Ole Miss. I have Ole Miss over Baylor here, and then I have LSU and North Carolina State advancing as well. Do you have
I also
Baylor?
I have Ole Miss over Baylor.
Oh, god. Hey, bulletin
Look,
board.
I
Nikki Collin, come on.
there you go.
Roll the
It's the
clip.
bulletin board material. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's a lot of things, right? It's like we don't know if Dariana Littlepage Bugs is going to be healthy. We already know Ole Miss is going to try to beat them up anyway. So it's like, can they match them physically? I think where Baylor matches up well with Grand Canyon in terms of like size, right? I think Aaron Vonleh is going to be the biggest difference in that game. I don't think just her is able to overcome, I think, what Ole Miss is going to be able to do physically with them.
The
So that's my worry.
Even if Vonleh has, like, a good game, because I think she could have a good game, the
Sure.
problem
Yeah.
is I don't think the guards will have a good game against Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is
100%.
going to obviously, they're gonna force turnovers. They're one of the best turnover forcing teams in the country every single year.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. I just could see a game where it's like, all right, Andrews, Walker, so on, just don't
Yeah.
quite aren't comfortable the entire game. And I think I said it on the last podcast, like this could be the best defense they've played all year. Very well.
Mhm.
So I don't feel good about that. Now I have seen some people say Ball State is like a sneaky 12-5 here on the women's side. If
Mhm.
that means like they're like 15-point underdogs instead of 20, I don't know. But I've seen
Yeah.
some people say Ball State's good. So we'll see. Maybe they pull an upset. Um, do you have LSU NC State? Or are you going
Yes. Yes. I have LSU NC State.
okay. Then I have UCLA, LSU. I think LSU and NC State. I watched that game earlier this year on Flow Hoops when they played in the Bahamas or whatever it was, and LSU
Mhm.
beat them soundly. I think this is
Yeah.
the best matchup for LSU. I think LSU gets through NC State pretty
Same. I have
comfortably.
yeah. Same exact matchup. 100% same.
Now,
Yeah.
I
This
mean,
one's
I took
tough.
LSU. It's my job. I took LSU here.
You got to walk into
Okay.
you got to walk in the building later.
I gotta walk in the building. I gotta see Kim Mulkey, all right? And if Kim Mulkey sees this, I'm screwed. Um,
Yeah.
I think the difference they played last year, LSU UCLA in the Sweet
Mhm.
16, and LSU won that game. The difference, obviously, is Angel Reese is not on this team. Can they
Right.
guard Lauren Betts at even somewhat as well as they did last year without
Mhm.
Angel Reese? That is the question. That's the question.
Yeah.
And obviously, they added Janiah Barker. They added the girl from Oregon State, whose name I'm forgetting right now. This UCLA team is better than it was last year. They're older. I wouldn't be surprised at all if UCLA won this game. I think UCLA should probably be favored in this game.
Mhm.
But I am going to go with LSU because I do think the one thing LSU has this year that was also evident last year was like obviously their guards are just better. Like
Yeah.
Flau'jae and Michaela, if they're healthy and they're playing, like sorry, Kiki Rice and Hawkes or whoever else is here. Like
Yeah.
LSU just kind of ran them, like controlled the game with their guards, and then obviously they didn't let
Sure.
Betts score. So I do think that is like a significant matchup here of Michaela Williams and Flau'jae just being like, hey, give us the ball, get out the way, we're gonna go get buckets.
Yeah. I may change this pick. I went UCLA, but I may change that because right now it's been UCLA basically USC's been the only team that's had their number this year.
Yeah.
um, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how much of that was just them being that dominant versus them. I mean, they didn't play that tough of a schedule. They beat South Carolina soundly, which of
They
course,
beat TCU by 15, I
beat
think.
TCU. Like outside of that, like I don't know. I don't know how to take that. So I'm still a little. I picked them just because they're like I said, USC and Juju and Kiki Erifin's the only ones that have been able to really get their number. So I'm going with them, but I may end up choosing LSU in the end. But we'll see.
All right, let's go down to Region 4 down here.
All
I
right.
believe this is Spokane 2, technically.
Yes.
I don't know how they're doing it, but this is the
All
other
right.
Spokane region. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
I
I'll
got
go
yeah. Oh, okay.
USC, Mississippi State, Kansas State, Kentucky, Murray State, 11 seed,
Mhm.
Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and UConn. So one upset there. I guess
Okay.
two.
Okay. Yeah. I have everything the same except for, of course, I have Iowa over Murray State. They've really done a good job of keeping things going. Post obviously Caitlin Clark, but also post oh my God, women's head coach
Hey,
who
Martin?
retired.
Oh, I thought we were talking about
Lisa
Hey
Bluter.
Martin.
Lisa Bluter.
Lisa Blue.
And Jan Jensen's done a really good job there, keeping things going for them. So I still have them. Yeah, I thought about Cal and Mississippi State, but I'm going Mississippi State.
Murray State, I watched them play LSU in the PMAC earlier this year, and they only lost by
Mhm.
14. And I was like, I was encouraged by the way they ran their offense and the way they played.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, this is actually like a not a fluke. Like this is a good team. So
Mhm.
that's obviously swaying me there. I have USC advancing. Then I have Kansas State beating Kentucky. Aoka Lee's
Mhm.
back. For those who don't know, um, if she's even 70% of what she was, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Then I have
I think
Oklahoma
the
and
quote
UConn.
she had a quote that I believe she's close. She's basically said like I'm very close to 100%. So
Yeah. So, and then I have
that's fine.
Oklahoma, UConn at the bottom there.
I have USC, Kansas State, Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma, UConn as well. I think that even without like they played without Aoki a lot of the season, and they looked pretty good. Kansas
Mhm.
State, right? They didn't fall off a cliff. So I think if you add her to that mix, Serena Sundell and Tamir Poindexter have done a really good job for them just to kind of steady the ship. Jalen Glenn as well. So yeah, give me if they can get her back, like you mentioned, even if it was 70, she says she's close to 100. I think they're still a Sweet 16 team.
Well, I think they're an Elite Eight team. Give me Kansas State over USC. If Lee's back,
Ooh.
that neutralizes a lot of the paint stuff that USC gets, and a lot of Juju's going to be taking a
Yeah,
lot of jumpers here.
yeah.
And I think Kansas State gets it done. Give me Kansas State and give me UConn at the bottom there. I do like this Oklahoma team, but they're not quite good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I have USC. After the first game, I may like regret picking USC just because it'd be like, oh my god, if Aoka Lee comes out and drops like 25 in her first game back, it's like, okay, we're done here. But I also have UConn coming out. I think we're in for a classic UConn run here. Vintage Paige Beckers. It's going to be, I think we're in for something fun. AZ Fudd's finally healthy. Sarah Strong's really come into her own. Like I think this UConn team might legitimately be one of the three best teams in the country.
Yeah. I have UConn also advancing to the Final Four there. All right. Top right, Region 2, South Carolina's region here. I have South Carolina, Indiana, Alabama, Maryland, then West Virginia, North Carolina, Vanderbilt, Duke. So chalk, except Indiana 9 seed, I guess technically.
Let me see. Do I have chalk? I think I have chalk as well. I do have chalk, except I have chalk. I have Utah over Indiana just slightly. I don't feel great about it, but Neepkins has been really, really good for them after they needed somebody to step up since Peely left. So yeah, I don't feel great about that one, but I do have Utah over Indiana.
Okay. Second round, I have South Carolina, Alabama, West Virginia, and Vanderbilt. So actually, I have 3 upsets in the second round here.
Ooh, you got okay. So we both agree on West Virginia. I have them over. Look, Mark Kellogg, we're ride or die, man. Even though you're in another state, we still ride or die for Mark Kellogg.
Right.
South Carolina, I have Maryland over the 4 of the 5, and then I mentioned West Virginia and Duke over Vanderbilt. I don't feel great about Maryland, Alabama. I'll admit I haven't seen much of either team. So
Yeah, I know Maryland's a good team, but
yeah,
watching Texas dog walk them the way that they did just sticks with me. It's just
that's
in
fair.
New Jersey, like just
Yeah, that's fair.
beat them by like 30.
Yep.
And Alabama, I think, is capable. Sarah Ashley Barker, Aaliyah Nye is one of the best, if not the best shooter, like one of the best shooters in the country. They have some
Mhm.
size, they have some experience there. I do like Alabama there. Um, Give me South Carolina and give me Vanderbilt in the Elite Eight.
Oh.
Caleb Blake's, um, Camille Pierre, best two players on the court here in a lot of these games. I think Duke as a 2 seed is crazy, even though I know they're a good team. I've
Yeah.
seen Vanderbilt go toe to toe now with a lot of the best teams in the country. I know they're not going to be afraid. I don't. I think they're ready. I think this is now before they all leave for the portal. They're going to make a run here in the NCAA tournament.
That's crazy.
So
No, it's fine. No, I have South Carolina and give me West Virginia.
hell
Give
yeah.
me Mark Kellogg in the Elite Eight. Yeah. I think, look, like you mentioned, I think Duke's good, but I think that when you play a brand, Duke's not really great at anything, right? Like they're a good defensive team. They're a good, like they're probably not even good, probably like average defensive team, good offensive team. I think West Virginia's a stellar defensive team at times. They just play in the Big 12, and so they're, I think they get hurt. I think they get hit with that a lot. But I think that West Virginia, now there's a hard wall coming up, but I do like what the potential of this team in March. So give me West
Yes.
Virginia.
Yes, and that wall is South Carolina going to the Final Four. I think they have the absolute easiest region by a country mile. It's
Yeah.
not even close. It's not like you
No.
could debate who the toughest region is between the other three,
Mhm.
but then like literally South Carolina has Duke and North Carolina has its 2-3.
Yeah.
I mean, what
That's
what are we doing here? They don't have LSU. They
yeah.
don't have Notre Dame. Don't have UConn. Like, good lord, give them somebody.
Yeah.
Nope. All right, South Carolina to the Final Four there. Region 3, Texas region. Here we go. Will the Longhorns do
Mhm.
it? They're gonna win their first round game at the very least. So Texas. Then I got Illinois, Tennessee, Ohio State. Um, Iowa State or Princeton. I will watch these games before I solidify this pick, but I am going to take the 11 seed here. I do on paper like
Mhm.
both of those teams, so I'll need to see them play again. But obviously, Iowa State's had a really tough year. Audie Crooks is still averaging like 20, so she's still great.
Yeah.
But then Notre Dame over SFA. Sorry, SFA. We did talk about y'all last podcast. And then Louisville and TCU. I think we get the Haley Van Lith matchup.
Yeah, I think I have everything, including Iowa State or Princeton over Michigan. I think Iowa State. Obviously, that pick is leaning Iowa State if it hinges on Iowa State winning that game, obviously. But even like Princeton's kind of fun. So like even if they pull the upset, I don't think they will. I think Audie Crooks is going to absolutely dominate that game. But like Princeton has one of the best offenses in the country, so
Yes,
I don't feel bad if that. Like let's put it this way: Texas and Xavier. I feel worse about Xavier
yes,
in on the men's side. I feel worse about Xavier versus whoever they'd be playing versus Texas. So therefore, I'm not picking them. Right? I feel good about both Iowa State and Princeton. So therefore, I'll pick the 11.
correct. Then I have 1-4-3-2 advancing Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, TCU here. Um, Tennessee is the only one that maybe gave me some pause, but
Yeah.
they've first of all, that game's going to be someone scoring 100 in this game. Tennessee, Ohio
Yeah,
State. Those
probably.
are the two teams that just run up and down. Ohio State presses 94 feet. Tennessee presses like this. Just going to be like a 50 turnover game. They're going to score 100 points. Ultimately, Tennessee has had a pretty hard ceiling. I don't want to say hard ceiling because they beat UConn, but
Mhm.
for the most part, they have not been able to beat the top teams, the LSU, the South Carolinas, and so forth in the
Yeah.
SEC. So, yeah, I'm taking Ohio State there. So 1-4-3-2, and then I do have Texas versus Notre Dame and the Elite Eight.
Okay. Yeah, I have 1-5-3-2. Tennessee over Ohio State. And I also have Texas over Notre Dame. I know that we mentioned that we think TCU matches up well with Notre Dame.
Right.
Um, for me, I think it's going to come down to the fact that TCU has hinged so much on two players, right? And I think that Madison Connor is going to have a massive game against Notre Dame. And Not saying I don't think she can, but I'm a little wary that they can keep it up for that. That's a long, like an Elite Eight. That's an Elite Eight run, right? That is a
Yeah.
long run, and I do wonder if we've seen the flaws of TCU a little bit too much for me to pick them for an Elite Eight.
It sounds unfair, and it'll sound stupid
Yeah,
if they win, but, like, I do think, like, the ceiling's just not high enough yet, which is fine. Like, they're a 2 seed, like, this
yeah,
is their
it's a
first
fantastic
year.
year.
Like, yeah, this is his 2nd year, but his first, like, real year, and
Yeah,
they've had an incredible season, but, like, you go through the rosters of Notre Dame and TCU, and outside of Van Lith and Prince, it's probably, like, almost all Notre Dame besides, like, maybe
mhm,
Madison Connor in there somewhere, but, like,
yeah,
Notre Dame has, like, everybody else in the 3 through 10. Like, I just
right.
there's more depth there. It's gonna be harder for TCU to continuously get that, and when they played, TCU won, but it took, like, an incredible 4th quarter to come back and just blow them out. So I don't know how much
Yeah.
to take from that. So give me Notre Dame there. Notre Dame, Texas-ish.
Yeah, I have Texas winning the rematch. I got
Ooh,
Texas.
okay.
Yeah, back to the Final Four, and yeah, I think that I'm the thing with Notre Dame, and I know they won the game earlier in the season, but they are such a guard-oriented team. They're the problem with Texas, and we can talk about that in the Final Four matchup. I don't know if they're going to be able to do what they did again. Notre Dame, I mean, um, if Texas gets on top of you early, it's hard to come back. Right. Now, Notre Dame, they go small sometimes. They bring out Sonia Citron. They play her at the, at
Mhm.
the 3 and the 4 sometimes. And that plays, I think that plays into Texas' hands. Now, if they're hitting from the outside and Miles and Hidalgo are going, and it's like, okay, then that's hard for them Texas to catch back up. But I just think that Texas is so good at getting the front foot that I don't know if Notre Dame can, if they're on the back foot early, I don't know if they have the horses to keep up.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Ultimately, I took Notre Dame here.
Yeah.
I just think the way that their guards are gonna be able to dictate the game, it will give Texas problems. Now, again, I think we're gonna have a huge Taylor Jones game and Kyla Oldecker game. Like, those 2 are gonna have to
I was about to
combine.
say they probably need double figures from both their posts.
Honestly, they gotta combine for, like, 25 points. I don't care how they
Yeah.
get it. And they're gonna have to make this game ugly. The first game wasn't, to my memory, and this was a long time ago, but, like, it wasn't that ugly of a game. I
No,
know
no,
Notre
yeah.
Dame ended up scoring, like, 80, but, like, um, it just they need to make it ugly. And that's gonna be my theme throughout this tournament for Texas is, like, when they play Ohio State, obviously, Ohio State's gonna press them and try to pick it up and stuff. Make it ugly. Make it ugly. So,
Yep.
we'll see. I'm gonna go Notre Dame here, though. I do think they have enough, talent. This feels like a team that, even with some of the lulls late in the season, can figure it out, and if they beat TCU, then they're playing good basketball. So, I have
Yeah.
LSU, UConn, South Carolina, Notre Dame as my Final 4.
UCLA, UConn, South Carolina, Texas is mine.
Alright, who you got?
Give me UConn over South Carolina. I got UConn over South Carolina. I really think we're seeing what we saw last year with Caitlin Clark's last run with Iowa. I think we're going to see something similar with Paige Beckers and this UConn team. I just think also that UConn's finally healthy. They have not been healthy in like 2-3 years, right? And I think we're seeing, in my opinion, I think the numbers, I think her hoop stats has them rated as like the best team in the country right now.
Mhm.
I really think we're going to see something special from Sarah Strong, AZ Fudd. Again, last year they were without AZ Fudd. The year before that, they were without Paige Becker. So, like, it's been everything kind of now snowballing into this. And so that's why I have them over UCLA. I just wonder if UCLA has enough in the backcourt to keep up with what UConn can do at the guard position. And then South Carolina, listen, we've seen them beat Texas twice now, where it wasn't a game for a lot of that.
Yeah.
And as much as I love what Texas did in the home game, I the SC championship, man, that was hard to watch. We're just like, again, it was where South Carolina gets up early. and Texas has no response. And I think Rory Harmon's going to have a massive game if they get through South Carolina, because I think they're going to play. I think the bigs, the depth and the bigs of South Carolina are going to play Madison Booker to a stalemate, right? They're going to try to neutralize her. And I think it's going to have to be Rory Harmon on both sides working to frustrate the guards for South Carolina. And then she's going to have to put up double figures, I think.
Yeah. I do think South Carolina's would take care of Texas again.
Yeah.
My championship is UConn over Notre Dame. I think this is Notre Dame's year, and they could lose they could lose in the Sweet 16 to TCU, but I think this is their year. I think this is their year to make a run to the championship. I agree. UConn is the best team in this run, should be the best team in the country, because I just think they have all the pieces here, and I feel like they've hit their stride and they're comfortable. Notre Dame versus South Carolina was a really tough one to think about, because I really think going into it, honestly, I thought about picking South Carolina to win it all. But the more I think about their games this year, and like the lapses that they've had and the limitations that they've had, it's like when they play this top talent, like they look human at times. And so if Notre Dame is rolling, and I'm going to place my bets with Notre Dame to have this is their run, this is their year. Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, Citron, like all these players, like they're better than, Raven Johnson and Malaysia Fulwiley, like just better one for one. Now, obviously, South Carolina has 10 of them. But in this situation, in a one-game spot, I'm going to take Notre Dame to advance their championship, and I can take UConn over Notre Dame. That might be a blowout, but at least we got there.
I was about to say that one might end up being a blowout.
Notre Dame made the championship. Just pack it up. We're good.
There you go. Yeah. So all right, we both got UConn. Both got UConn and Duke. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy.
After all that, we both got the same champions.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny because I had won the bracket pool, a bracket pool in 2021 when Baylor won it, because I had Baylor winning. Everybody else had Gonzaga. I had Baylor, and then 2 years ago, UConn's first title, I correctly picked UConn men to win that title in 2023, and that's when they were a 3 seed. And boom, called it. Won those two. And then last year, for some reason in my brain, I didn't pick UConn again. And I'm just like, why would I not do that? Why would I do that? I overthought it. Regardless, there are brackets. There they are.
Nice.
I love them. I love them. I like my women's one. I only have one seed in the Final Four. I'd be surprised if that happened, but that's what I'm going with here in the women's side.
That'd be massive. That'd be,
and that's what I meant when I was like, the women's side almost feels less chalky because there's more parity at the top than the men's. Like the men's, you're like these 4 seeds are like just dominant. Like these are 4 1 seeds that are like very, very likely to make it. And sure, that's the case probably on the women's side. Like obviously the 1 seeds are favored, but it's not because they're like so much better than everybody else. Like USC, Kansas State, like I said, like I wouldn't be shocked if USC played Kentucky. Like it wouldn't shock me if they lost.
Right.
So I we go down the list here of teams like Notre Dame's a 3 seed, so on. But it's really fascinating this year on the women's side, especially because I think there's a lot of different ways this could play out, and that's not the case in honestly most years.
I was about to say you're looking at. Let me see if I can probably bring up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, the fact that we're at like 6, 7 teams that could win the title, right?
Yeah.
Like it's probably on the women's side, which is not usually the case. Usually there's 4 or 5, sometimes 3. Yeah, I'm very excited for this team, for this tournament. Particularly, I think the Sweet 16 on is going to be incredible on the women's side.
Yeah. So there you go. Everybody enjoy it.
Boom.
Well, we will enjoy it. We'll probably do heck. When are we? You want to do one like Friday night?
Yeah. I mean, I can try one Friday night.
Honestly, if A&M is upset by Yale tomorrow, we might just hop on.
We might do one. Yeah.
Emergency.
Yeah.
Texas Tech plays tomorrow as well at 9:10 on the men's side. Houston plays tomorrow at 1. That will be a 60-point win. And Texas tonight. We'll see how Texas
Texas
does.
United versus Xavier.
So that's a big one. All right. Yeah, we'll talk to y'all then. Thank y'all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. We will talk to y'all later.